All right, welcome to Guarantee News. Of course, I'm your host, Garrett. If you're watching for a second, minute, entire video, this is your first video, your last video. Thank you for watching. You could be watching anything in the world and you're watching Guarantee News. I appreciate that. As usual, please subscribe to my channel at GS Studios. That's GSTEWDIOS. And in the comments, tell me what you think about this video. Tell me, where am I right? Where am I wrong? Where are you in the middle? Where do you agree, kind of, but disagree? All of that good stuff. And let's get into our video today. This is one that is personal to me, and this is one that is really sad. So we're going to play this video from NBC Nightly News a couple days ago, and it's around a 22-year-old that dies because he's not able to afford his asthma medication. And after this video, basically what this episode is about is just, in America, it is really terrifying of getting sick, and every single part of being sick in America, it feels like a chore, to where not only are you sick, it mentally stresses you out from the moment you get sick to the moment where you have to go to the med check or try to get into your primary care doctor, which even that is a whole type of thing, and we're getting to that more in the episode. But from getting sick to going to the doctor to figuring out what medicine you're getting to trying to get that medicine to then going to the pharmacy and everything around being sick and just the bills, and it honestly gets to the point where it feels like you're drowning every time you get sick, and you want to do everything you can to just get over it yourself. But we'll get into that. Let me just first play this video so you guys can kind of see what made me want to even talk about this today.
Only lives in his parents' Bill and Shannon's. Cole Schmitnick only lives in his parents' Bill and Shannon's memories.
This was Thanksgiving.
Dead at 22 because of his asthma, something they say never should have happened.
Cole went for a routine refill on his Advair, and when he got to that pharmacy counter, he learned that it was going to cost him over $500, and that was a shock to him.
Cole had insurance through his Wisconsin employer. What he didn't know, his parents say, is that Optum Rx, the pharmacy benefit manager for his plan, changed its list of covered drugs. The preventative Advair discus inhaler he had used for years cost Cole no more than $66.86. Suddenly, its price tag over $539. Unable to afford it, Cole's parents say he would pay with his life.
Did he tell you that he couldn't get his Advair replenished?
No. When we went to the ICU, we were baffled. We knew he had had an asthma attack, but we didn't understand. And his roommate said to us he didn't have his Advair.
5 days after his pharmacy visit last year, Cole had a severe asthma attack that led to his death.
How old would Cole be today?
24.
24. This is his birthday.
Today.
Yes.
As we speak. What do you think of on this day?
For me, it's all the things that we should be doing, that he should be doing, right? He was just so young, and he had his whole life ahead of him, and it was just so preventable and so unnecessary.
Pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, are the middlemen that negotiate prices and coverage between the insurance companies, drug makers, and pharmacies, meant to bring down costs for patients. Cole's Optum Rx PBM stopped covering Advair discus at the start of 2024, offering what it says were several less expensive but therapeutically equivalent asthma medications. In a lawsuit filed against Optum Rx and Walgreens, where Cole went for the refill, Cole's parents said their son did not get the required 30 days notice of the change. His doctor wasn't contacted, and that the pharmacy never provided Cole with any more affordable workarounds. Cole's parents say he left with only an inhaler for emergencies.
It was empty at his house next to his bed.
In a motion to dismiss the Schmitnick's lawsuit, Optum Rx expressed its deepest sympathies for Cole's death, but says federal law prohibits the case from being brought in state court. Optum also says 3 alternatives, each with a $5 copay, were.
And I will say, this is the one that I take Symbicort, and I'll get into this more because I have bad asthma. If you know me, I mean, I'm sick right now. I'm drinking tea, cough drops. Literally, I had like a little chest cold, and like with me, anytime I have like some type of cold, it starts to affect my asthma. And I take Symbicort every single day, but I'll let it continue.
Are available, and its system instructed Walgreens to contact Cole's doctor about those options. Walgreens, too, offered its deepest condolences and cited privacy reasons for why it can't discuss specifics in the case.
If decisions weren't made outside of his control, Cole could be here.
When Bill and Shannon get overwhelmed, they look at their wrists, now with the same tattoo Cole had on his.
It's just everyone's little reminder, you know, from Cole to just keep living and that we can still be happy. I keep trying to remind myself that, like, happiness and joy and grief can coexist.
And Ann Thompson joins us now in studio. You feel so much for those parents there. We have one of the inhalers right here. If people find themselves in a similar situation like Cole, what should they do?
First thing, call your doctor and ask your doctor to appeal the denial of the coverage. If that doesn't work, then you want to talk to your doctor and pharmacist about what alternatives are covered. Your pharmacist may be able to give you that option right then and there, Tom.
All right, Ann Thompson for us, Ann, we thank you for that.
And we're still in the intro. I'm gonna get to like this video as well because another news channel covered this, and they have like a lawyer that's like talking about the fact that his parents sued Walgreens and I think it was Optum RX, the insurance company, right? And I'll wait till they start showing the actual lawyer, or actually here, let's hear this part a little bit too.
Hard to talk about. This is a very sensitive, a very emotional case when you think about a 22-year-old who died because he could not afford his medicine. 3 days notice.
Well, their claim is against a number of folks, and so I can say this. When the producer talked about doing this story, I know she wasn't aware of my past, so I'm uniquely situated and prepared to talk about this story, specifically that I grew up having asthma. I'm an attorney that's filed claims against a number of entities, and so I have two perspectives from this. As a person that suffered asthma, I've seen where the price increase for an inhaler can make you question, oh man, am I going to be able to breathe? Because when you're having an asthma attack, it feels like you're breathing through a straw.
Right.
And so if you've never been in that situation, you can't, just that we showed. Those are called HFA inhalers. Those are rescue inhalers. His situation was a little bit different. He had something called a discus inhaler. That's not rescue. That's longer term. And I'm giving you all this because I can go to your answer for the question. It's pretty simple. He had 5 days when he attempted to get the inhaler, and then he got drastically worse. During that time, even if he received that inhaler wouldn't have saved his life because that inhaler helps you long term. You take it every day, 5 or 6 years later, you'll get drastically better. A rescue inhaler is, I'm in the middle of having a moment right now. I can't breathe. I need this to save my life. You see it in the pictures. Somebody takes 2 pumps of it. Okay, now they're better. That's not what he was attempting to get. So to your question, does the family have a claim? I'm not sure, because when you're looking at these types of claims, it's duty, breach, causation, and damages. Causation. Was my incident, what's the thing that I did to you, the proximate cause of your death?
And basically with this, the reason I played this is because what the lawyer is basically saying, like, hey, you couldn't get your asthma medicine for 5 days, like the long-term asthma medicine, the long-term asthma medication, you couldn't get it for 5 days. This is long-term, so did that 5 days really affect you not being able to breathe? Did it affect that asthma attack? So are they at fault? Now, the reason I play that is because I think it's just disgusting how it is. If I had to guess, this is going to take years in court, and the family will end up probably not winning because I feel like a judge or however it's going to work is going to say that Walgreens and Optum RX are not responsible for what happened. And when you see this, you might just ask yourself, like, okay, why didn't the guy tell his parents? Why didn't the guy try to ask his doctor? Things like that. And I can tell you from personal experience, it is so annoying and hard to call doctor's offices, to wait on hold, to tell them, okay, give me 2 or 3 days. It's a process in and of itself, and it becomes almost like anxiety inducing just to figure out how to get your medicine, to where you're like, okay, I'll just deal with this later, because you have work that you have to deal with. You have just so many other things in life to where you're spending 30 minutes trying to talk to 30 minutes trying to get on the phone with the front office clerk that's going to then won't even let you talk to the doctor. They're going to go and talk to the doctor. All that becomes such a thing where, again, like this guy said, this is personally something that I've dealt with before. So I can just understand. You might watch this and be like, this might be this guy's fault. He didn't even really take the time that he needed to maybe get his medicine. But I can tell you that it is so difficult to deal with that shit. And we'll get into that more in this episode. But first, what I want to start with this is this just made me think about all of the parts of just, let me try to go to, all right, we'll just leave it here. We'll leave it up here. All the parts of the medical system that just suck if you're sick. And I want I'm going to put this precursor in before. Well, no, we'll get to it. I don't even want to put it in. So I'm going to just get to, as someone that I just went to the doctor's office like a day ago. I have been to the doctor's office. I've been in the hospital a lot because I have asthma. I have allergies. It's just something that I dealt with. So as a personal person, I know what it's like dealing with going into doctor's office, hospitals, things like that. Doctors and pharmacists are usually very nice. And I'm always nice to pharmacists because you can just tell they're overworked whenever you go into your pharmacy and the line's long and you hear people yelling at the pharmacist, whether it be for something that the pharmacy is doing wrong or something where the person trying to get their medicine is doing wrong. Either way, people can be really mean to pharmacists. It's always packed in there a lot of times. And you can just see that they're stressed and they're doing something that's a very important job. And they're usually never mean, right? I never really get mean pharmacists or mean doctors in my case. So I'm usually very nice to them, and it's really usually easy to deal with them, especially the doctors when you get to the doctors. But getting to the doctors themselves is some of the problem. The way getting there can be really terrible, right? Now, the medical system itself, trying to get your medicine regularly, dealing with insurance companies, going to the hospital, paying for your medicine, just moving through the system to get healthy when you're sick is so much harder than it needs to be. And again, it's the theme of this thing. It's one of the themes of this episode. It is a mental anxiety-inducing problem that you're having on top of being sick. Nurses and front desk people seem to be, honestly, it's a 50-50 Russian roulette. And I'm not gonna lie, if you know me, you've heard me say this before. Every time I go to a med check or a doctor, and the front office person or the first nurse that I go to that's taking my height and my weight and asking me the like primary or those first preliminary questions, if it's a young, like thick woman, I'm not gonna lie to you, I hate it. I'm shitty because they're usually mean. They're usually, what do you need? Let me rush through you. I get to the next person. Oh, okay, blah blah blah. All right, move on. They don't look you in the eyes. They're mean. You can hear them talking to their friends in their back. I've literally had nurses that are like on their phones. Like, it's just a terrible experience. I hate young, thick, nails done nurses that look like they're more like they take Instagram pictures in their scrubs. It's stressful. It seems like they don't care at all. Now, I will say this, and then I'll get in with this. The older nurses or front desk people, they tend to be way more caring, way nicer. They seem to actually want to help you get better and do their part. Now, I'm low-key stunned because when I went to the doctor's office, because I saw this story, I'm sick, I had to go to the med check. And by the way, my front desk people and my nurse before I got to the actual doctor, they were amazing. They were great. Not gonna say what med check I went to, but the front desk person and the front desk person and the nurse, they were amazing. Very nice, very kind. So I'll start off by saying that. Of course, they were both older women, so I'll say that as well. Now, that being said, when I got to the doctor and like she helped me with everything, I then asked her kind of like, okay, with this story in mind, like, oh, how do you feel? Are you overstressed? And the first thing I'll say is apparently a lot of times at med checks and stuff now, because she told me this, the doctor that I was talking to, we got into like a conversation about this. And she was like, well, a lot of times they hire medical assistants instead of nurses because a lot of these med checks and offices don't want to pay the nurse salary. So they're hiring medical assistants. And again, first off, I thought medical assistants were over nurses. Apparently, just because it sounds more professional, that's not the case. It's nurses, medical assistants. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these young people that I'm getting that I'm assuming are nurses because they're the first people we're seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if they're medical assistants because they seem to be untrained, right? And I was low-key stunned about that because I didn't even know. Now, I'll say the precursor now that I never am mean when the nurse is bad because I get that there is probably a fine line and a balance between a nurse that is bad at her job, doesn't care about helping people, nurse or medical assistant, because I'm not sure every time, I'm not asking, a nurse or medical assistant that's bad at their job because they don't care, because they just want to say they're a nurse and post pictures on Instagram and say that that's what they do, and a medical assistant or nurse that has been put through a ringer, have seen 20 people, some of them disrespectful for no reason, some of them trying to tell them how to do their job, and now they get to someone that's actually nice, or they get to someone that's young and they just are like, okay, I just don't have the energy to be kind to you or to be like I'm caring to you. I can get that fine balance, which is why I'm always trying to be nice to nurses. And even with that, because you feel so bad, because even I see this article in the Indy Star, right? And it's basically nurses are drowning while Braun ignores Indiana's health crisis, right? I'm going to say this name wrong, but shout out to her, a contributing him or her, a contributing columnist in the Indy Star. And I'm just going to read the first couple quotes. I went up to the ICU to check on a patient, and I saw Sarah, a seasoned nurse I've worked with for years, juggling 6 critical patients. Her eyes were tired, her steps hurried, but she still managed a reassuring smile for a frightened family. Between checking IV lines and updating charts, she whispered to me, "I'm drowning, but I can't let anyone see it." That moment hit me hard. Sarah's dedication keeps our hospital running, but the strain of understaffing is breaking her and countless nurses like her across Indiana. And I want to say that because I don't want this video to be me shitting on nurses and medical assistants that care about people and are just drowning because they're not getting paid right and they're not properly staffed at the places that they're working. Because I think all of this is a mixture of a disgusting system where you do have nurses that just shouldn't, nurses and medical assistants that just shouldn't be nurses and shouldn't be medical assistants. They're doing TikToks. That is a real thing. And those nurses exist, and I can see the difference. But then there's the nurses that are just stressed and drowning like her. And those nurses should be treated with respect, and their job is so important. And then you have a medical system in America that at the end of the day is just a money business. And the doctor that I talked to when I was at MedCheck was like saying that, like, that's when she said, like, I hate that they're not hiring nurses, they're hiring medical assistants because it's a money business and they don't want to pay the people that work, they don't want to pay the nurse's salary. So that is just all in all disgusting to me. And back to the nurses, like, I don't want to dwell on it. Actually, I'm not even going to dwell on it anymore. But I relate to what's going on, or this story with this 22-year-old. And in the story, they said he'd be 24 years old at this moment. So he's only a year younger than me. I'm 25. But like, I have a daily medicine Symbicort that I take. I went over this last year. I went through a problem like this where I couldn't get my refill on my Symbicort, something that I take every day. And I know if I don't take Symbicort for a week, my asthma starts to affect me. I tell my friends all the time, like, if a zombie apocalypse happens, if something happens, the first place I'm trying to rob is a Walgreens. I need everything. I need all the asthma medicine because it really starts to affect me. Like, you can hear me wheezing, breathing harder. If you look at my last videos, I'm a little bit better now because I'm starting to get my medicine. But if you look at my last video, you can kind of see me like breathing hard, laboring to breathe. So I know, like, it starts to affect you 4 or 5 days, 6, 7 days after you haven't taken it, especially if it's a long-term medicine that you're taking every day, right? I was calling my doctor, calling my primary care doctor's office. Their nurses suck. I don't even like going there that much because the nurses and the front desk people, conversations, talking about their family, doing their nails at the like, bro, I'm sick and I'm seeing them obviously not care. I call in, ask to speak to the doctor, who's very nice. I know I can't speak to the doctor because they're so busy, but the nurses are like, yeah, I'll tell the doctor. You'll call back 3 days later and you'll get a new nurse, and the new nurse or the new front desk person will say, oh, we didn't put the note in, the last person didn't put the note in. You know, they all work together, they don't care. And then I don't like to yell at these people, because I don't like to yell at anyone in service. I work in service, and I've worked in service for a big part of my life. And you have people that yell at you when you make a simple mistake that's overdoing it. And then you have people yelling at you when they're in the wrong. And it just makes you feel stressed. It's not a good feeling, so I'll never yell at them, right? And I told my mom about this. My mom literally called in, yelled at some people. I was sitting listening to her do it. Called my doctor's office, called the pharmacy, yelled at them both. My prescription was filled in 3 days. And I'll say one thing with that. That's why it's nice to have a bulldog in your corner. But that's also just to go to say this medical system sucks. It's not as easy as like in that last 30 seconds of the video we played where she was like, oh, call the nurse, call the doctor, get a coupon. It's not easy. You have to yell at people. You have to like force yourself upon people because for whatever reason, if it's people that are just mean, don't care, want to check and just want to say they're nurses, or they're people who are so stressed that they don't even know what to do, either way, they're in a system that's predatory, that is about money. And it's like when you're sick, you can't breathe, or you're something, you broke a butt, like anything. When you're sick and then you have someone in your face who supposedly is supposed to be trained to care for you, to be on your side, to be helping you, and it just seems like they're not caring for you, it can be very disheartening and make you feel like, I don't even want to go here. I just want to figure it out myself, because now I'm going to pay money. Now I'm going to have to go back and forth with these people. It doesn't feel good. And again, to the nurses and doctors and pharmacists usually tend to be nice. I would say if you're a doctor going to school for so long, it's because you really care about the job. You want to do the right thing. You're a good person in a bad system. So the doctors always seem to care. You can tell when they're stressed, but they always seem to be nice. But to the nurses and medical assistants, if you're a nurse or medical assistant, you know who you are if you're the ones that are just stressed. And I'm not bashing you, because I actually am very appreciative of you, and we need you. And I'm never going to be mean to those nurses, or I'm never going to be mad. Like, I'm not mad for long wait times. I'm not mad for just being honest with me and telling me what it is. I'm not mad at you being in a tough position and not being able to give me the best care as the first person you gave care to that day. That's human nature. But to the nurses that are just Instagram warriors, those nurses and medical assistants, I can't lie when I say I really, 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 really become frustrated with them. And that little standpoint last year with where I couldn't get my medicine and my mom had to yell at them, that's the first thing I thought of when I looked at this video, right? Or when I saw that news story. Because I know a lot of people could be like, why not just call your doctor? Why not just do this? It's not that easy. And I've been dealing with this my whole life. There was one time when I was in the hospital where I was having an asthma attack as like a kid, and a nurse wouldn't give me my asthma medicine because I guess they thought you can't give an inhale, like you can't give a treatment within less than 4 hours is what she was saying. And I know that to not be true now. My mom, again, which is why it's good to have a bulldog in your corner, yelled at her. Doctor came in and said, "What the fuck?" Gave me the asthma treatment immediately, and that nurse didn't see me the rest of the time. I won't say what hospital I was in. I never went to that hospital again when I was sick. There'd be times where I'd be in the doctor's office, like having I've dealt with asthma my whole life, so I can understand this situation so importantly. There's been times where I've been like at a doctor's office in a part of town, I won't even say, and like my mom will be like, and the doctor will be like, "I think you should go to the hospital because he's wheezing." And my mom will be like, "We're not sending him to the hospital close to here." Because my primary care doctor used to be close to a hospital. My mom would be, and my primary care would be like, "Okay, we're sending him to another hospital where they're going to actually be to take care of him." So I know that this can be happening where nurses and people will literally look at someone sick and be like, "This is a money game," or "I'm not going to get in trouble. We'll let this kid die. We'll let this happen before I'm going to get in trouble." And it's sad. And it's sad. It gets to the point where you're just scared to being sick. Being sick in America feels like a death sentence to your pocket, your body, to your mental health. Making an appointment at primary care physicians sometimes can take months. And that's because they're overstaffed, so that's not a problem. But it's still stressful when you're sick. So you go to a med check where they're understaffed, where you just try to figure it out yourself. You get your Dayquil, your NyQuil. You look stuff up on ChatGPT because it's like, I don't want to pay the money and have the stress of dealing with this, to the point where it's like, shit, by the time you get to the doctors, it's either too late or you either figured it out yourself. And going to the hospital, don't get me started on that. My parents, when I got older, started showing me hospital bills. They charge you for breathing in that bitch. Like there's been times where I've been sick. One of my friends watching this will know, and I've literally been sick. I'm allergic to nuts. I know that's funny to say. And I'll be like, "Bro, I'm not going to the hospital. Give me Benadryl." I'm like, I've had great doctors in my life that have like taught me how to breathe and stuff. I'll literally meditation breathe myself back, because it's like, bro, I'm not paying for all that money. And I'm not paying for all that money to go to the hospital for them to give me 4 breathing treatments, give me something, and just say, "Yeah, get the fuck out of here." Like, no, bro, it's too much money. It's too much money. It makes you scared. It's like you work not to go to the hospital. You work not to be sick. I work out. I take my asthma medicine. I'm trying to eat healthier. That's so hard. But you should do so much to not even get sick, because once you get sick, it is terrifying, because you have to go through hurdles just to get to someone that seems to care. Even if you're a nurse even if you're a nurse that's overstressed and overworked and you feel like you're not giving your care to someone, I'm telling you, I appreciate you so much more than the nurse that just doesn't even look you in your eye and doesn't even seem to care. It's disheartening. It really is. And it's, again, like, I'll just go back to this. It's like, the medical system in America just seems to be this insidious money grab industry that only is this mix of nurses that care about their jobs, nurses and doctors and pharmacists, and people that care about their jobs and are going into this because they want to help people. Nurses that just want to be nurses to take Instagram photos and tell people they're nurses when they have people ask them what they do. Predatory insurance companies that absolutely don't give a fuck if you die or not. They just don't. And just an industry that is just it's just terrifying, bro. And that story sits harsh with me, and it sits close to me, and I have no specific ending other than like I would recommend living as healthy as you can, because getting sick, and I know there's probably nurses and people like in the comments, tell me where I'm wrong. I would love to speak to a nurse or speak to a doctor, and maybe I will to revisit this. Tell me where I'm wrong, but it's just a terrible sense, and it doesn't look like there's anything better. And I think you should read this article. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's talking about like nursing shortages, how Mike Braun is not doing anything. Our new governor, who is just, it seems to be one of the Trump, I'm going to do what Trump says so I can get in where I fit in, where whether he doesn't know, doesn't care, because he's able to get medical assistance. But it's just sad. It's just sad. Every time I get sick, I have to like force myself to go to the doctor because it's scary. This last instance was amazing. Like, front desk person was great. Nurse was great. Doctor was excellent. But those times where it's bad, it feels awful. But that's this episode of Guaranteed News. Stay healthy. Go Pacers for the first game tonight. Be safe, you guys. That's all I'll say with this. That's a wrap. Ooh, okay, I let the microphone back on. Okay, all right, that's a wrap.